So what are mental models? To understand this, first we need to understand what are models. So models are simplified representations of how something works in the real life. Let's say for example, you wanted to understand what would be the housing price in your neighborhood. So we all know that the price per square foot of a property or a house depends upon how close it is to a city center. So let's say you took some of the uh, examples or samples from the properties nearby and plotted those on a graph. You could easily fit a model of the form y equals to mx plus c, which is one of the simplest equations or simplest models you could fit to the data. Now this is particularly a useful model because it helps you make two key decisions. One, let's say you have a distance of a property with you, and based on that you could easily determine what would be an approximate price of that property. And the reverse is also true. If you had a budget in mind and based on that you could derive the price per square foot of the property, you could limit the radius or the distance from the city center within which you need to look for your property. So both these decisions can clearly be made using a model like this. What you could also notice is that what the model predicts, which is the dotted line, is slightly different from the prices that you had observed in reality. But despite this difference, the model is still useful because it's a good fit to the data. Now, this property is something that has been known for a long time, and back in 1976, George Box famously quoted that all models are wrong, but some are useful. So, this idea is something that is key to keep in our minds throughout the discussions around mental models, because essentially mental models are really powerful when applied to an appropriate problem statement in an efficient manner. However, they are also something that require careful selection of problem statements and application into your life. So mental models, similarly to this mathematical models we saw, are also internal representations of how something works in the real life. And these are based on the collective experiences and observations over a period of time. They essentially simplify a complicated system by just extracting the key information that is required for decision making and navigating the challenges. Now, these mental models, as they are based on experience and observation, they can be subjective, and what works really well for somebody may not work that well for somebody else. And that's not because mental model is wrong, but the situations for people can be different. Maybe they cannot apply a model perfectly in their lives, but somebody else can, right? And that's why it may appear incomplete or inaccurate in one case, whereas completely perfect and normal in others. So what essentially needs to be done is that we should explore a variety of mental models and based on our individual situations and appetite, identify the ones which work the best for us. The next step is to apply it 100%. Now, if you don't implement it perfectly, let's say you implemented it only 30%, 40%, 50%, then the outputs will also be that much or even lesser. Only when you apply it 100% can you then move to step 3 to reflect upon it and identify whether it worked for you or not. And basis your reflection, you could choose to tweak it further, adjust some of the parameters to fit your needs, or maybe even switch to a completely different mental model. So this four-stage approach, you could use it iteratively in a cycle until you reach a stage where you have perfected it and found a solution to your day-to-day problems. So choosing the right model for the right purpose and executing them efficiently is going to be the key. Throughout this video series, we will explore a variety of different mental models, and depending upon your situations, you could choose whichever ones that best fit your need and explore with them. So starting with the next video, we will explore our first mental model.